Okay, you guys, this is a really good video from Melissa Doherty. She shows exactly how the Jehovah's Witnesses mind control their members. But of course, it's reminiscently very similar to Scientology. Shocking. So let's just listen to what she says here.
And I think everyone needs to see so they can clutch their pearls too. The reason why is this video is intended to prevent Jehovah's Witnesses from communicating with anyone who questions the organization, which is equivalent to questioning God himself. I think it's really helpful to highlight this kind of stuff because my hope and goal is that Jehovah's Witnesses see through the Watchtower deception, but also so that others watching you can learn about manipulation and control.
And so the original video is from Jonathan Ledger. So just bear with me here, guys.
I want to show you this video from this year's convention. And as you watch it, pay close attention to the manipulation.
They begin to grasp and cling to the misinformation or the bad teachings of apostates. And then they want to share it with you. What would you do? Well, to answer that, please give your attention to the following dramatization.
Notice he does not allow anyone to actually think critically with their own minds. He interrupts them and gives them the answer that he wants them to have.
Bethel's nice, but you have to think about your future.
If people could hear your truth, you would be an encouragement to so many people.
When I was your age, they told me all the time that the end could come tomorrow. But look at us. We're still here, and we've been able to make it.
So just to clarify and define a few terms, first, when the beginning speaker is talking about apostates, this is the Jehovah's Witness word for somebody who was a Jehovah's Witness but left the organization. They are the lowest of the low. They are the filthiest thing to them. That's the word I will use. It's a strong word. They are filthy to a Jehovah's Witness.
Where have we heard this before? Could it be the same evil demons wrote all the books? Something to think about.
Because you left Jehovah's organization and you knew the truth and then you left. So when you leave the organization, you're an apostate. To them, it's like you're a walking dirty word. You're as bad as being satanic. Also, when the beginning character, when he's talking about Bethel, he's not talking about Bethel Redding or anything related with Bill Johnson. What he's talking about is something completely different. In the JW org, going on their mission, but they don't get paid for it at all. At Bethel, it's all voluntary labor. The second thing here is another.
This reminds me of in Scientology how various Sea Org members go and recruit Scientology parents' children. I believe it was Lori Olson's book covered all that. And they pressure the parents hardcore. Oh, join the Sea Org. What is it? Something of the future. It's the future.
Another important Jehovah's Witness doctrine to know about is Armageddon, which is basically their end times belief. So he's talking about the end coming.
And then she explains how Jehovah's Witness is the biggest, she calls them J-dubs. I'm not sure, I think maybe she's a former, that it's the biggest doomsday cult. Isn't it weird how it's always the same story? Anyways.
They still have nightmares in their adult years about how the Watchtower depicted Armageddon. It terrified them. So Armageddon.
How many ex-Scientologists have we heard have nightmares. Trauma works. Kind of like the last 6 years where everybody was demonized for asking questions. You're an anti-this, or, no J, no J. You guys have to read between lines. That's just one campaign.
Kevin's going to come and destroy everybody who's not a faithful Jehovah's Witness. That's important. That little caveat is important. A faithful Jehovah's Witness. Jehovah's Witnesses are always afraid they're not doing enough. Are they doing?
Sound familiar? I mean, not to mention narcissism, but this is not about narcissism. You're never enough. So you have to keep jumping up and jumping up and jumping up and going to tone 40 or whatever it is. Whatever the deck of cards is that day. Have they put in all the hours? You know what that is? Sleep deprivation. Because mind control works the best when people are extremely sleep deprived. And if you look around in many either organizations or even some of the network marketing, it's all structured in the same way. Worldly people versus the faithful Jehovah's Witness. Us versus them. Just like the Pink Floyd song. Us and them. Jehovah's Witnesses wake up every day with fear that the end is coming. Where have we seen that before, you guys? Fear works. Fear works. So much I want to say, but if I said it on YouTube, the evildoers would come after me. It's a fact. I learned a lot of this in the military and research, intuition, life experience. So, okay, I cut a little bit out here, but she's talking about how this man is questioning some of the prophecies and, biblical stories and things like that. So I wanted to preface that because I want us to go into where she shows exactly what they do in the film.
For the Jehovah's Witnesses watching this at the convention, right? That's how it's framed. The faithful J-Dub, Charlie, is the good guy and the one who is daring to ask questions. Kevin, he's the bad guy. Pay attention to this, because this...
Remember how many times in life, throughout our societies, we were not allowed or discouraged from asking questions? Things that make you go,
This is a classic case of what's called poisoning the well. This is a logical fallacy that I'm sure that you have seen, where someone tries to discredit a person or their argument before they've even had a chance to speak or present their case. The goal is to...
This is a super good point that she makes. And of course, in Scientology, they have policies to do this in a so-called religion, to ruin and utterly destroy someone. Kind of like what they are attempting with Lyra FM, what they are attempting with Audit LA and other people. Attempt with a big capital A.
Bias the audience against the person in advance, making anything they say seem untrustworthy or tainted, regardless of its merit. Okay?
Does that remind you guys of 2020?
So it completely bypasses the actual content of the argument and instead attacks the person or source to undermine trust. So it's really similar to like an ad hominem attack, but not directly. The goal is to distract your audience from logic and evidence by framing the person negatively. So in this case, Kevin is the bad guy because he openly is questioning and speaking his thoughts.
Like if you are an anti, or what's the other word that the evildoers at the top of the pyramid love to do, is if you have questions about something, or you're not liking something agenda they're trying to roll out, you're a blank hater, something that never existed ever in time. All of a sudden, it's everywhere, or certain colors are thrown everywhere. It's called, that's basically the way I look at that. That's like a hijacking of people's consciousness throughout society. Now you're a blank hater. They use words as weapons to steal people's consciousness, to steal their thoughts, so that they no longer have critical thoughts.
This is actually deceptively, disturbingly brilliant, because if Kevin's the bad guy and you find yourself identifying with him, then you're the bad guy too. And nobody wants to be the bad guy, do they? So this is
like a suppressive. And that's just one example.
Classic tactic from the Jehovah's Witness organization. Now, we're going to keep listening, and I want you to pay attention to how the Watchtower frames Kevin's questioning.
What's wrong? I'm worried about them. They're different.
Yeah. I kind of felt that too.
You know, whenever I ask him how things going in their congregation, he won't give me a straight answer.
Really?
And he's always shifting the conversation to something negative about the organization.
Can't say anything negative, huh? None of us have ever seen that before, have we?
Notice that it's not something negative about God or Jesus. It's about the organization. This is kind of key because in Jehovah's Witness theology, the organization represents Jehovah. So questioning the organization equals questioning God. Now notice there, so far, and to be seen, there is no actual handling of his questions. There is only silencing and calling it fear and satanic. I mean, what I like to do sometimes is take these same things and put it in a different scenario, like the same concept. So
I just want to add in there, and not to get too deep into the subject, it's like a way to demonize, like to me, it's like a blanket statement. Like, this is witchcraft, or it's satanic. And don't get me wrong, these things do exist. But I feel like, you know, and I'm not shading anybody at all, but I feel like whatever it is a person is questioning, or if they're right away just like repeating something they've been told, you haven't gone and looked into it deeply. And you should just never take anything at face value. That's what I'm saying.
imagine for a second your child comes home from school visibly upset about something. They tell you that something strange happened in class today, something troubled them in class. And so naturally, as a parent, you go to the school and ask, help me understand what happened, what's going on in the classroom. But instead of answering you directly, the principal looks at you and says, well, why are you being so negative? Honestly, this kind of questioning sounds like you're under a bad
gaslighting.
influence. So you, perhaps being a little bit more pulled towards people pleasing, you don't want to be seen as divisive, so you back off. But you were never trying to cause trouble, and you weren't causing trouble. You were asking because you were concerned, you care, and suddenly your concern, in other words, is reframed as a threat. This is manipulation.
Yes, that's where I got that video idea from. Your questions are a threat. I just thought that was freaking amazing. And I just love how she breaks it down. I'm not going to go through the whole video, but I don't know. I just love how she goes through this.
And a lot of leaders unfortunately do this to people who question them. You're never given a direct answer, but instead you are framed as the enemy. This is what happens
Exactly like a narcissist.
in environments where authority can't be questioned. It's about protecting their control. It's not about figuring out what's true. So instead of answers, you're labeled negative, divisive, or, as I mentioned before, even satanic.
Or like in Scientology, as a child, of course, you are sent to get a security check. Honestly, again, I'm not an expert in mind control, but from what I've studied, and I do want to share the book if it doesn't get taken from my phone again, the how to create an Illuminati mind-controlled slave. There's only certain things I can read on it, but they break it down exactly. And in Scientology, the levels are like so intense. That's why I would say to any Scientologist trying to leave, and there's more advice I would give. I think a lot of the ex-Scientologists have phenomenal advice, and I like to listen to them as well. But watch the movie The Village. And Tori Magoo also says, watch The Truman Show. It'll make you kind of get a sort of an idea why everybody's like jumping up and down, aside from the crimes and the abuses, because that's why everyone's going completely, hardcore.
Hey, Justin, I want you to read this article I just sent you.
His name's Justin. It still looks like a Charlie to me.
It's gonna change the way you see the organization. Get back to me.
You guys, I could just break this apart. Yeah, I don't know. I can't help it. But this is the information control. Like Stephen Hassan, behavior control. I'm just going to go through it because I'm a novice. Behavior control, information control. Kind of like when people were isolating everyone and telling them what they could and could not do. Okay, so behavior control, which would be isolation as well. And then the I stands for information control. And the T, thought control. T, thought control. E, emotional control. Like staying up tone. Sadly, staying up tone did not work for Lisa McPherson. Neither did it work for Whitney Mills. What's the doctor that's being investigated? Anyhow.
Did you get that message I sent you?
Why would you send that to me? Better yet, why are you reading that garbage? It's all lies.
Garbage? How do you know if it's garbage if you haven't even read it?
I mean, Kevin's not wrong. I'm sorry, but Kevin's being a good friend here. Okay? He's trying to tell good old Chuck the truth. He's trying to say, hey, you're being deceived. Now, I don't keep up with this stuff as regularly as I used to, but I think that this might ironically be one of the best videos that Jehovah's Witnesses have ever made about their garbage mind control tactics, because whoever wrote this script, I can't help but wonder if they are low-key questioning the organization themselves. I can't help but...
Anyways, you guys, this video was so well done. And again, she shares the link to the original video, and it's all over the internet now. But anyhow, you guys, go check her out. I will leave a link to her video as well as the original video. Have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.